Welcome to Front Office Pros. NFL free agency is winding down, so we thought it would be a good idea to discuss Dynasty Trade Targets Free Agency Edition. We like to call this speed trading. How it works is we will review a player's value based off of keep, trade, cut, and then we will tell you whether we would trade for or trade away the player. Before we get started, make sure to put in the comments below your trade questions, and we will be happy to provide you our advice.
Hike!
So wide receiver DJ Moore was not a free agent, but he was traded right before the free agency period, so we thought we would include him. He was included in a trade that in return led the Carolina Panthers with the number 1 overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. Based on keep, trade, cut values for Superflex leagues, a fair value for DJ Moore would be wide receiver Christian Watson, wide receiver Michael Pittman, running back Javonte Williams, running back Najee Harris. So, Joe, based on those values, would you trade for or trade away wide receiver DJ Moore?
Those are definitely some, interesting values. I think I actually would trade DJ Moore for those values. I think the values you could get there are pretty good. Carolina, while it wasn't the best spot for his production, we'll see if. It's kind of yet to determine if the Bears will be a good spot for him as well. He could be good with Justin Fields. We just haven't really seen how their passing attack is going to work. So, especially if I could get Najee for DJ Moore, I'd be really inclined to do that.
Okay, so to clarify, you would trade away DJ Moore. You said trade.
Yes, trade him away. Yes.
Okay. I agree. I would trade him away too. He has been at best a wide receiver 2, borderline wide receiver 1. The question will be with Justin Fields, will he get a huge amount of targets? His best year as far as targets is concerned was 163. I don't know if he's going to get enough volume when it comes to him being on the Chicago Bears. So if I could get a guy like running back Najee Harris, who I think his value is suppressed, a lot of people aren't a big fan of his, where I think a lot of people are really excited for Justin Fields, which now they're really excited for DJ Moore. If I could make that trade, I would trade away DJ Moore for Najee Harris.
Yeah, that's honestly the player I like the best too. Watson could be interesting, but I don't know. Jordan Love if the trade ever does happen, I don't like that as much.
Yeah, the other guy's not as excited about maybe Javonte Williams if I'm trying to reset the running back clock and hopefully when he gets back healthy, he would be good. But even honestly, with any of those 3 top guys, I think if you got Watson, Pittman, or Williams, you probably could do them plus for DJ Moore. And in that scenario, I still do the trade where I traded away DJ Moore.
Yeah. For those, as you mentioned, though, those other 3 guys, I definitely would need plus. Where Najee, I could, just do it straight up.
The Carolina Panthers signed running back Miles Sanders to a 4-year contract for $25 million, including $13 million guaranteed. Based on keep, trade, cut values for Superflex leagues, a fair value for Miles Sanders would be running back Dameon Pierce, wide receiver Deontay Johnson, tight end Dallas Goedert, or a 2023 first-round pick around the 110 spot. So, Joe, based on those values, would you trade for or trade away running back Miles Sanders?
That's interesting. I was thinking about trading for him, but I think I would trade him away if I could get Dallas Goedert. Probably wouldn't for a Pierce or Deontay Johnson. 2023 first round pick could be interesting, but it is at the 10th spot. I think for the top 2 guys, I would trade for Miles Sanders, but then if I could do the bottom 2, I'd be comfortable trading him away.
Yeah, honestly, I would be inclined trading for him. Going to that Carolina Panthers offense, I don't want to say he's going to be used as a bell cow. He's not a bell cow running back, but other than Chuba Hubbard, they don't really have anybody else in that running back room unless they draft somebody. They're most likely going to have a rookie quarterback. They've got a few receiving options, but not great. So to me, I think he gets 200 plus attempts, and I think he actually ends up being more involved in the passing game than he was in Philadelphia. He only had 26 targets last year. I think he'd get more than that. So to me, I would trade for him. I am pretty down on Pierce and Deontay Johnson. I think I would, straight up, I would do that trade pretty easily. Goddard, I'm with you. That's pretty more even. But I still think I'd rather have Sanders at that point. And then the 110, that's probably the one that's the most interesting because then you could probably reset the running back clock and get a running back at the 10th spot because this is a really deep draft. But I'd be inclined to trade for Miles Sanders at this point.
Yeah, I do tend to agree with you, though. I think he should get a lot more opportunities with Carolina than he was with Philadelphia and could be in line for uptick in, opportunities and yards and production this year.
Derek Carr was released by the Raiders and ended up signing with the New Orleans Saints before free agency kicked off for 4 years, $150 million, including $100 million guaranteed. Based on keep trade cut values for Superflex leagues, a fair value for Derek Carr would be quarterback Kirk Cousins, running back Derrick Henry, wide receiver Amari Cooper, and quarterback Russell Wilson. So, Joe, based on those values, would you trade for or trade away quarterback Derek Carr?
Based on those values, Steve, I would trade him away. I just don't know what to think about Carr with the Saints. He's not really, the weapons aren't really there. He had far better weapons in Las Vegas. I like Derek Carr for Chris Olave more than I like Derek Carr in the weapons in New Orleans. So those other options I like better. I'd be really comfortable trading him away at this point.
Yeah, similar logic for me. I would trade him away as well. His peak, his best year was, 13 at the quarterback position. So depending on what leagues you're in, a typical size is 12. He's borderline QB1. To me, his supporting cast that he's had in Las Vegas these past few years is better than what he's going to be having in New Orleans. I really, like you said, I like it more for Olave than for Derek Carr. And I'm really concerned that Michael Thomas is going to hold up. We even heard recently Dennis Allen, their head coach, say, he's still not 100%, Michael Thomas is. So to me, I think, Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson, Kirk has already been better recently. They're going to probably add another receiver to that room now that they don't have Thielen. I think Russell's going to have a better year. I just like the potential of those guys better. And then Henry, more of a win now move if you trade for him, but I think he's got at least a year left that he can really do some damage for you if you're trying to win. And then Cooper, I think he's got a few years. So I think all those guys, are good. I think his value may be inflated because of the change over to New Orleans. So I would trade him away.
Yeah. And if it is inflated, now's the time to do it. And, if you can get any for those guys, I'd go ahead and do that trade.
So Elijah Moore wasn't a free agent, but he was recently traded to the Cleveland Browns, and in exchange, they sent over a second-round pick to the New York Jets. Based on keep trade cut values for Superflex leagues, a fair value for Elijah Moore would be wide receiver Mike Williams, running back Khalil Herbert, running back Cam Akers, or quarterback Aaron Rodgers. So, Joe, based on those values, would you trade for or trade away wide receiver Elijah Moore?
I'm inclined to trade for Elijah Moore. He's a young wide receiver. He's never, other than like his rookie year towards the end, he never really fully got a chance with the Jets. And I like him in this Browns offense, and I don't think Watson can be bad as he was last year. I'm looking for improvement there, and Elijah Moore will definitely help with that. He's got Amari Cooper there for a supporting cast, so I'd be more inclined to trade for him than trade him away.
I'm with you 100%. I would definitely trade for him. I'm not scared about any of these values. Mike Williams can't stay healthy. People are way too high on Herbert because they think that he's going to take the lion's share of the carries. Now that Montgomery's gone, I think they'll end up drafting a running back, which then all those Herbert owners, their hearts will be broken. Cam Akers, he's been a yo-yo and just hasn't been reliable. Just don't know what his future really holds with the Rams and in general. And then Rodgers, who knows with Rodgers? He could retire next year if he goes to the Jets. I just think he's kind of a nightmare player to have. So at this point, I'm not scared of any of those values. We know that receivers typically make that jump in year 3, and this will be his 3rd year. May take him a little bit longer. He will at least have the training camp period to be able to understand the offense. So hopefully he gets acclimated quickly. But he just really hasn't had opportunities in New York to really succeed. I mean, the most targets he's ever had was 77. I could definitely see him getting over 100 targets this year. So I really like his potential moving forward.
Yeah, I do. And, I'm really glad he got away from the Jets, because otherwise his value just wasn't there. And he's not a guy you would have wanted in dynasty leagues. But in Cleveland, he's definitely a guy you want to go trade for.
The Las Vegas Raiders signed quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo to a 3-year contract for $72 million, including $45 million guaranteed. Based on keep trade cut values for Superflex leagues, a fair value for Jimmy Garoppolo would be a 2023 first-round pick around the 112. Running back Tyler Algier, running back A.J. Dillon, and wide receiver Keenan Allen. So, Joe, based on these values, would you trade for or trade away quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, based on the values, I'd be looking to trade away Jimmy Garoppolo. It's hard for me to believe that he's going to be having better production with the Las Vegas Raiders than he currently was with the Shanahan system and the 49ers and all the weapons that they had, and the heavy run game that they had and set up for the play action. So, I trade him away, and he's another guy that seems to, keeps coming up. We keep talking about another guy that just can't stay on the field, gets hurt. And, I don't know if he's going to be in the top 12. And if he's not, then I'd trade him away.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would trade him away as well. All those values don't scare me at all. I think all of them I would prefer to have pretty easily, even with guys like Algier and Dillon, who I'm not really the biggest fans of. But at the end of the day, I'm not even convinced that Jimmy Garoppolo will be the quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders next year. I think they are definitely in the market for taking a rookie quarterback with their first-round pick. The Raiders can easily get out of that contract, even though those numbers would suggest otherwise. So to me, I don't really know how much they are depending on Jimmy Garoppolo for the future. I think it's a bridge quarterback that McDaniels knows, and they know the system. So to me, I think it's best to get rid of him at this point. So Darren Waller wasn't a free agent, but during this time of free agency period, he was traded from the Las Vegas Raiders to the New York Giants for a third-round pick. Based on keep trade cut values in the Superflex leagues, a fair value for Darren Waller would be running back Brian Robinson, a mid-2023 second-round pick, quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, or wide receiver Kadarius Toney. So, Joe, based on those values, would you trade for or trade away tight end Darren Waller?
Oh, boy. I as contrary as it might be, I think I would trade away Waller, and now might be a time to try to maximize his value. Not to say that there's some interesting options on that list, not to say that I would do it for all four, but I just don't know how he's going to do with the Giants. They don't necessarily seem to overly target the tight end position. They had Evan Ingram for a while and didn't use him overly. Then you have the injury history with Darren Waller. Didn't play majority of last year. That kind of scares me. So I'd be looking to trade him away and try to maximize the value of people thinking that they like this new spot with the Giants.
Yeah, I think for this one, you really have to consider where you're at as a dynasty team and what your strategy is. If you're a win now team, I think you definitely should trade for him. If you're a rebuilding team, I think you maximize the potential of him being in that Giants offense as possibly the number one option in that offense. So I would trade him away. But overall, if I had to pick one or the other, I would trade for him. He's 6'6", 255. He's a big target. He's only 30 years old. We've seen guys like Travis Kelce. He's not Kelce, but Kelce is still performing at 33 years old. So tight ends can perform even later in their career. And Waller really had a slow start. He didn't really start performing until 4 years ago. So he was definitely a late bloomer. But I think he has great potential in that Giants offense. They don't have a number one receiver. I think he could be the number one target in that offense, and I definitely see him getting over 100 targets easily next season. So I think he's in for a bounce back. I think he is going to be a tight end one for sure next season.
Yeah, he definitely should. I just we'll see if he can stay on the field. But if I were to trade Waller away for a Garoppolo or Brian Robinson, I wouldn't just do those deals straight up. I need additional assets in that trade in order to move them.
The Las Vegas Raiders signed wide receiver Jakobi Meyers to a 3-year contract for $33 million, including $21 million guaranteed. Based on keep trade cut values for Superflex leagues, a fair value for Jakobi Meyers would be wide receiver Cortland Sutton, a 2023 mid-second round pick, tight end David Njoku, or wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson. So, Joe, based on those values, would you trade for or trade away wide receiver Jakobi Meyers?
Yeah, I think, Jakobi Meyers is a really interesting player. I do think he's talented, but for those values that you could get, I'd trade him away. There's really not anyone on there that I wouldn't trade him away for. I like those 4 values. I think Las Vegas is a little bit of a better spot than what it was in New England, but at the same time, they have, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow there. They just signed a couple of tight ends in free agency, so there is a lot of, guys there to get targets away from Jakobi Meyers. And then you also have, Jimmy G, who I don't think is just going to come in and start slinging the ball around and set the world on fire. So, for those 4 values, I'm trading away Jakobi Meyers, even though I do like him as a player and think he is talented.
I'm with you. I would trade him away. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised by the similar value based on keep trade cut. I think all these guys are definitely better than Jakobi Meyers. The only one that maybe is interesting is Wan'Dale Robinson, who I believe tore his ACL last year, is recovering. He was a rookie last season, so definitely some potential. But for me, I'm with you. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to throw the ball enough. So, and if he does, you would think that Devontae Adams is going to get the largest target share percentage. So I'm not even sure Jakobi Meyers is going to have over 100 targets. So for that reason alone, I don't think he's going to get enough volume. And so I would much rather have those other guys. The New England Patriots signed wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster to a 3-year contract for $25.5 million, including $16 million guaranteed. Based on keep trade cut values in Superflex leagues, a fair value for Juju Smith-Schuster would be wide receiver Sky Moore, a 2023 late second-round pick, tight end Cole Kmet, or tight end Chigoziem Okonkwo. So, Joe, based on those values, would you trade for or trade away wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster?
These are some interesting values for, contrary to Juju here. It's a common theme, but, I think I'd trade him away for those guys. There's some, interesting players on there, like Chig Okonkwo on there is interesting. I like the potential of Sky Moore. The only one that, isn't quite there would be Cole Kmet. I'm not really sure, about that value. Probably would need some additional, but I think overall I'd be comfortable trading away Juju.
Yeah, for me, I actually would trade for Juju Smith-Schuster. He's only 26 years old. I think the question will be, will he get the volume that's needed in that Patriots offense? And I think with Bill O'Brien being the offensive coordinator, I expect them to throw the ball a lot more than they did last season. So I think he's going to get over 100 targets. And for me, those guys are interesting, but they're all guys who haven't bloomed yet. And I'm not so sure they will. I think of the bunch, I like Chigoziem probably the best. I'm with you. I'm a little concerned about Kmet. That late second-round pick, it's hard to really know who that would be and how much of an impact they'll have. And Sky Moore I like a lot, but and there is a void now that Juju Smith-Schuster is gone. He should be able to step up, but is it possibly Kadarius Toney instead of Sky Moore? And obviously Travis Kelce as a target hog. So I think at the end of the day, I would trade for Juju just because of his potential, and he is still really young.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I think if he would have just stayed, I would trade for him if he was a part of a better offense or would have stayed with Kansas City. I do get your point with Bill O'Brien, but that's still yet to be seen what's going to happen in New England. So I'm still comfortable trading him away.
So that concludes Speed Trading, the free agency edition, where we went over trade values for players who have gone to a different team this offseason. If you enjoyed this content, we ask you to please like this video so others can find it. Comment below with your trade requests, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also recently have joined Apple and Spotify podcasts, so follow us there as well. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.